Welcome back. A dream was realized on Saturday night inside the Octagon at UFC 158 in Montreal. Jordan Young Gun Meehan made the most of his UFC debut, knocking out Dan Miller in the first round with a vicious swarm on the mat. Meehan says his arm is a little stiff today after an early round armbar from Miller, but overall he's okay and back in light training until he gets the call for his next bout. He's still reeling from the experience.
It was super exciting. The crowd was really crazy. Obviously with GSP fighting, you know, it's going to be packed in there. There was like 20,000 and they were all freaking out and screaming, which was a good experience. And arm's a little sore, but other than that, I feel good.
Meehan is the third fighter from Lethbridge to appear in the UFC. The WHL playoffs get underway on Thursday, and for the fourth straight year, the Lethbridge Hurricanes will not be a part of the postseason, prompting many to ask if Rich Preston is the right man for the job. Sunday, he and his players spoke to the media as they cleaned out their lockers and reflected on the season that was. Daryl Rummel has more.
An air of disappointment lingered in the Canes dressing room as one by one the players cleared out the contents of their lockers, signed documents, and headed their separate ways.
No one wants to miss the playoffs, and just unfortunate, I guess, a few injuries and some other things that came into play, and nothing you can do about it now except learn from the positives and just keep going.
I mean, it's disappointing. You obviously want to be in the playoffs, and it's even harder to go out knowing that you kind of blew it. It was in your hands and you just didn't get the job done. We couldn't find the back of the net, and that was the bottom line.
Much of the blame from fans has fallen on the shoulders of head coach and GM Rich Preston, who failed to guide his team to the postseason for the fourth straight year.
I hate to give excuses. There's no excuses, but there's reasons. And when you lose, well, let's put it this way: when a 16 and 17-year-old are your top pair on defense, pretty tough.
The players aren't blaming their coach. They say they only have themselves to blame.
At Christmas time, it was all highs for us, you know, coming to the rink expecting to win. And I mean, just second half, you know, just wasn't the way we wanted to go.
The club won just 10 games after the Christmas break, despite the brilliant play of goaltender Ty Rimmer, who set a franchise mark for saves in a single season with 2,106.
You know, I loved it. You know, loved all the responsibility, all the shots. You know, it was a lot at some times, but you know, I love the responsibility, and you know, I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Incredibly, Rimmer partially blames himself, saying he took it upon himself to get captain Graham Hood into the playoffs and was unable to do so. The captain is blaming circumstance alone for the team's failure to reach the postseason.
Obviously, I'm not blaming the fact that we're not in playoffs on our injuries, but it's a big part when you lose, say, a guy like Dan Johnson on your lineup, and yeah, we didn't have the greatest of luck, and we weren't closing hockey games off.
There are now a number of decisions before the Hurricanes, first and foremost behind the bench. The contracts for Matt Kabiyama and Chris Chisholmore have expired. Rich Preston says he's yet to think about those. What he is thinking about is retooling his organization, so he's not talking about missing the postseason for a fifth straight year. Daryl Rummel, CTV Sports, Lethbridge.
Thanks, Daryl. Yes, and Preston is under contract for one more year. We'll have more from the Canes dressing room for you tomorrow. A pair of former Lethbridge Hurricane captains are now national champions. Cam Braze and Ben Wright helped guide the University of New Brunswick varsity Reds to a CIS national championship over the St. Mary's Huskies on Sunday. They win the game by a score of 2-0. The Cardston Cougars swept the field at the 4A Provincial Championships this weekend to bring home the banner in both boys and girls basketball. The men downed Bishop Grandin 71-66, while the girls put away the Raymond Comets by a 71-59 margin. And the games, Jackie, were played at Calgary's Crescent Heights High School. And coming up at 6, Glenn will have more on the Flames as they kick off a 3-game road trip in Dallas tonight.
Okay. Coming up next, though, we're going to talk about why more Canadians are getting happier as we age.